Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Today we're taking a closer look at the MelGeek Mojo84. This is a mechanical keyboard that has a pretty unique translucent design. In fact, there's 6 different shells that you can pick between, and all of these, again, just make it stand out a little bit more from the typical generic mechanical keyboard on the market. But for some of these more finer touches, custom keycaps, it also sells for just a little more as well. In fact, this one retails around $200, but if you are kind of a keyboard enthusiast, you want something that really pops a bit more on your desk, this can be worth considering. Now, the keycaps themselves are hot swappable, so you can also replace the switches. So here's a guide of some of the switch options, in fact. So blue being just requiring the highest activation force, being the loudest in terms of the clicky noise. Other options, though, can be considerably more quiet, like the brown switches, so that if you're in a shared space, it may sound a little more pleasant to others around you. There is also a companion app which you can download for computers, including Mac and Windows, which allows you to further customize things like the RGB backlights and the layout. Now, as a slightly more premium keyboard, they claim there is more attention to detail here in terms of the gaskets, how everything is mounted and sounds. And last but not least, this is also a wireless keyboard. So you can also activate the Bluetooth mode in order to connect to Android devices, as well as other gaming consoles, for instance, Android TV boxes, so on and so forth. Plus, it also has a USB Type-C traditional wired mode and even a 2.4G USB mode as well. Last but not least, has a 4,000 milliamp hour capacity battery inside. We have some of their logos and even some additional messaging scattered around the sides, including "Have a good typing day." Pretty playful, and it also weighs about 950 grams in terms of the weight. When you lift this open, there's another message that says, "Need keyboard and not friends." Kind of an interesting slogan, and "Thanks for bringing me home." So definitely some personalized touches, including also a mini envelope on the very top of the box here that contains the user guide. So it is very well packaged, I have to admit, which it should be as a slightly more premium keyboard. Underneath this, we do have a keycap puller tool, so if you want to remove those without damaging anything, you can use this to swap it out, either to wash or replace the keycaps over time. There is also the nano receiver here. Last but not least, here is the USB Type-C cable for charging and also using it as a wired keyboard. This cable is also pretty neat. It has this very delicate soft touch rubber accent going on. It has these orange colors that says "good typing," so a lot of custom attention to detail, and chicken dinner is for some reason labeled on the other side there. Very much soft in terms of the way it feels, a very high quality cable. So look at the actual keyboard itself, removing that plastic wrap, and indeed it has just a very funky design going on. It has almost a retro vibe, but also kind of cyberpunk, futuristic at the same time. Hard to describe, but definitely an interesting aesthetic for sure, very customized. And if we take a closer look here, the frame, everything again is translucent, made out of plastic, has kind of a natural tilt to it, making it a little more ergonomic as you're typing. And because it is plastic, it's going to shine through for the LED lights just a little bit more easily. And then also you have the Type-C port there for power, charging, and turning it on, as well as into the different modes. The back of the keyboard here also has a soft touch rubber accents, preventing it from sliding around. Decorative patterns which are going on here. Definitely looks very distinctive and striking. Kind of reminds me of some of those retro MacBook keyboards from the early 2000s, but definitely more customized than that. All of these rubber gaskets are meant to stabilize the overall fit and finish, so it dampens things like sound and vibration, so that when you are typing and pressing down, all the components will not really wobble and create extra noise. So it is very solid in terms of the tuning, I have to say. And this light green shade that we have with this particular variant is a complete match with this cable in terms of the color scheme there, just being super faint. You don't get a dedicated numpad on the side. And because this one has a built-in battery, you can also take it with you when on the go, so it still is relatively compact. But considering that it is mostly plastic, it definitely doesn't feel cheap or hollow. In fact, it has kind of a substantial weight to it. And this particular variant that we have here happens to be the Gateron Pro White Switch Edition, which is linear keycaps that requires less force to activate than brown and even yellow switches. So they are not requiring much action at all for you to press down, but you can just hear how quiet they are, and they're super satisfying. So the higher cost there is definitely going into more attention to detail with the fit and finish. And the typing experience here is almost addicting in terms of the sound. But anyways, removing this, you can tell there are individual LED lights underneath both of the keycaps, which you can further, again, decorate with other options. You can switch them out. These keycaps have kind of a matte texture to them, so as you are pressing down, they're not too slippery at all, and they have a kind of a curve to them, so they're easy for your fingers to find their spot. It is my first time using Gatoron white switches, and I have to say I am a really big fan of these switches. Now in terms of some of the additional settings and controls here, there's actually two modes. If we flick it over here to the left, that actually activates the Bluetooth pairing mode. You see the blue light starts to flicker. And although in the ads there we saw it describe how you can pair up to 4 devices simultaneously and switch, actually the real product itself allows you to pair up to 8 different devices using Bluetooth 5.2, which is just insane. So you can pair pretty much your entire office collection and your maybe family's phones and devices as well. All of them can be controlled independently just by using the 8 modes. Now in terms of the lighting here, I will say that by default it's not the brightest that I've ever seen. It starts off in just this white color, and here is a profile view also from the side, so it doesn't necessarily glow quite as much as I was thinking, but still everything is definitely visible and looks really cool in terms of the effect, with everything here just being translucent. But there are no additional lights here at the side of the deck, as you can see there. And then also the Z key here will turn the light actually on or off completely, and I can tap on the X key here to change into the different colors, and it cycles through the rainbow. So it starts off with this kind of green color here, and it will actually go through more of the cyan color. This is one of the more animated modes. You can tap on it again and it will go into more of this reactive flashing mode, which even has shimmers of slightly different colors at the top and the bottom sections being a little more red, the bottom being more white. Interesting effect. And we can also tap again to go into more of this rippling pattern, as you can see there. Now, these particular keycaps, I will say, they don't necessarily shine through because of the intensity of the light and the fact that they're going for more of this weather-resistant material. So if you are typing in complete darkness, you won't necessarily be able to see all of the imprints on top. But overall, it still is, again, looking quite good with all of these animations. Now this will be a reactive mode, so as I'm tapping along, you can see how the light here will start to ripple across and dance and react. It's very fast and responsive. Tap on it once again and it will go into one more, but it's a memory mode, which will fade after a few seconds of typing along. These are more for demo modes, which are cool when you have friends along, for instance, but not the most practical because the keys themselves are not always backlit. Here is more of this rainbow mosaic effect. Tap on it once again, goes into once more kind of the single color options. So overall, it is pretty easy just to cycle through and find kind of these different tricks that you can play around with, as well as further select via the Customizable app if you want to change the color of individual keys from there. Now, one other thing here, I can tap on Function and the C key to actually change between the individual shades of colors, but it will still stay in that same animation mode. So for instance, right now we're locked onto single colors. I can go through the colors of the rainbow kind of one at a time, as you can see there. Pretty satisfying and easy to use, but I can also change to one of the other more animated patterns, for instance, and I can tap on this as well to just change the color one by one of the rainbow here that is flickering along. So that is also pretty neat. Same thing goes with the reactive mode. I can change there to now have everything react to a completely different shade based on your liking, giving you just a lot of possibilities. As expected, because it is using the latest Bluetooth 5.2, there are no issues at all in terms of latency, reacting almost instantly as we are typing things along. As you can see there, you don't really miss any characters. Now for a test of what it sounds like when you are typing along. So as aforementioned, just so satisfying in terms of the sound, the way that everything is so well stabilized. Every key feels identical as you're pressing down. Spacebar has a slightly more clacky sound, but still very well distributed in terms of the way it feels, despite any region on the bar here that you're pressing down just feels consistent, and it's just such a good typing experience. That is more or less it as far as our quick hands-on review of this MelGeek Mojo84, and I have to say it's kind of hard to describe because on one hand, when you're looking at it, maybe you're thinking, well, there isn't anything truly exceptional in terms of functionality that we necessarily haven't seen before, and the pricing is a little bit on the higher side, but it is very personalized, obviously. However, there's just something about it which is hard to put into words. It's almost an innate quality that all of the attention to detail when it comes to the way that it feels. As you start using it and seeing it in person, it just becomes hard to resist, and everything becomes a joy, again, when it comes to work or entertainment and play alike. You can check out more details if interested in the links down below. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews. That's been the Mojo84.